All right. So thanks for joining us, John. First and foremost, thank you for taking the time to do this. I know you're very busy, but I really appreciate that we got a chance to do this. So how are things with you?
Things are great, and things are challenging here, like for me, as they are for everyone. We're in a very strange market. In Napa, I suspect it's somewhat nationwide, but in particular in Napa, I think we went through many years of a very, very strong market, accelerating prices. Things just ground to a halt somewhere around late summer to early fall of last year.
You're absolutely right. I mean, we'll get into talking more about this, but I mean, we've seen that across the client base. It's been a tough start to the year for a lot of people, right? Just obviously that momentum and that pace just hasn't been there, with a lot of buyers and sellers holding off and just waiting to see what's happening as well. So just I want to go back to before you started working with us. I know from our early conversations, you tried a few different things. What was some of the main issues you were coming up against, and what have you kind of tried to either as workarounds or things that you tried in the past, and how was that experience?
The big issue for me for real estate, because I love being my own boss, I love being in control of my destiny. So the real challenge I had after the first few years in real estate was the roller coaster ride of a ton of business coming. I started right out of the gate in 2018, doing a lot of deals. My general manager, my company was like really impressed at how quickly I was able to hit the ground running. And then I would all of a sudden hit a dry run in months without a deal, and then scrambling to figure out how I'm going to make my mortgage payments. And then all of a sudden a couple more deals would come in and save me. And it was just extremely stressful. And I know the business is somewhat like that, but I know that from more experienced agents that I know, it's not quite so, the highs and the lows aren't quite so extreme. And so I wanted to figure out how to get a more steady stream of business that would kind of even things out. And so I had already been doing some of the basic things that agents do. I work my CRM, I work my sphere of influence. Everyone that knows me hears about that I'm doing real estate, and they hear me asking them about what's going on with real estate for them. And I was doing some letters to the neighborhood. I work a particular area in Napa where I live, this kind of north side of Napa. I really work this particular area heavily to try and build some really just awareness among everybody who lives here with letters and things like that. So that's really the majority of my marketing. And I realized I needed more than that. So I started to try some lead generation services. I tried Zillow. That was a complete waste of money. I just the quality of the leads I was getting, and the number of them was nowhere near what they promised, and it was very expensive. There's a couple of other lead generation services that I tested out, some of which where they don't charge you anything, but they get a percentage, what they call a referral fee, basically. So they get a percentage of the deal on the back end. Again, but the leads were so bad that you'd have to weed through so much garbage that it was almost not worth my time to finally get to one that might be worthwhile, and then have to give up a third of it. Right. So that didn't seem worth it.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. So just thinking about that, so we had this early kind of conversation, and I know you had obviously got some concerns coming in. Like, can you talk to me a little bit about what were your concerns before working with us, and kind of maybe what the tipping point was that actually led to you deciding to work together?
Yeah, it's actually amazing that we are working together. And it's a testament to your sales ability, because you contacted me through Facebook, as I recall, or LinkedIn. I'm not sure. I can't remember. It was one of those. And you caught me at a time when I was particularly ticked off at Zillow. I had been doing Zillow for a few months. I was not happy with the results. I had wasted thousands of dollars. And so my view about the lead generation business in general was not at an all-time high. But I knew that I still needed something. And you and I said, well, it doesn't cost me anything. Let me talk to him. And you and I talked, and I think you conveyed to me an understanding, the real estate business, and also just of online marketing, that made me feel like you really knew what you were talking about, and you knew what you were doing. But I think what really tipped me was you introduced, I said, I don't remember, but I said, I said, circle back around. This was before Christmas. I was like, I like what you're saying. I like your attitude, but I just don't know if I'm ready. And I got this money I just spent on Zillow, and I'm just not sure. And then I said to you, do you have someone I can talk to, an agent that you've helped, that I can, kind of see what they say? And you did. And I spoke to General Adam. He really had a lot of good things to say about you, and he was early on working with you, but from what he said so far, I just like the fact, the biggest thing I think was your hands-on involvement.
Mm.
Because when I was dealing with Zillow, obviously I got, somebody on the line that was assigned to help me, but it was just a voice on the phone that among probably hundreds of other guys like him working for, a big company. He doesn't have any control. If I go to him and say, I don't like this way this is working, this needs to change, he doesn't have any power to do that.
Right, right.
So I think that was the big difference, was being able to talk with someone directly who can listen to me, and take everything that I say, any feedback I have, and be able to do something about it.
Right, definitely. So, okay, so fast forward a little bit. I mean, now you're with us and we've been working together for a while. I think we've probably about 7 weeks in now. And talk to me about that experience. So as you kind of got into this, what was the thing that you would say would be most impactful about the experience so far that you found valuable?
If I were to say one thing, I think where we are now after 7 weeks, which is not very long in this type of process, this is not something that I knew wouldn't happen overnight. I would say when I thought about before we started, where I hoped we would be 7 weeks in, I think there's some things that I didn't anticipate. One of which is, obviously, the ultimate goal here is closings. The ultimate goal here is booked appointments that ultimately lead to a deal. But there's a lot of other benefits that over time, without you realizing, can have a lot of benefits. And I'm getting calls from friends of mine that saw my ads, so like several, so which means if my friends, and I thought like I had that many friends, I'm not the most popular guy in Napa. If they're seeing my ads, that means a lot of people are seeing my ads. And there's an awareness there, which is really important to me over time, of people who will put that together when they meet me or see me somewhere, or maybe see an ad from me or a listing from me. And it's that recognition of, oh, I know who that person, I've seen them before, I've seen their name before. So that's a benefit that I wasn't really thinking about in the beginning, that I think that I like. The sheer volume of the ads that we're running. This program that we're doing is based on a numbers game, lots and lots and lots of ads, lots and lots and lots of contact and calls to get to a few booked appointments. And that has its own benefit. And then also we've worked on some other thing, particularly the video. I've never done that before. It's something that's a little outside my comfort zone, but I put together, with your kind of guidance and your pushing, I put together a short video, which I just feel great about that. I feel good about having got that done. And I feel like I'm going to do a lot more of that. So add that little to my arsenal of tools, not only for the Facebook ads, but in other places. So I got the message from Monica, the ISA. There's a gentleman she had contacted who sold a property in Montana. I think he must be an escrow, it sounds like, on a property. And when that lands, he's going to come into a big chunk of money, and so he wants to take a part of that and invest it into multifamily property, some kind of apartment building. And so right away, of course, I was interested. You checked with me because we hadn't talked about commercial, but I have a background in that kind of business. And so I'm definitely able to handle that. So I called the gentleman the other day, and he was a super nice guy, very receptive. Is exactly what Monica said. He's looking to buy an apartment building. I'm surprised he owns a vineyard up valley in a nice area up in St. Helena. I'm sure that he sounds like a very well-financed guy. So I'm really surprised that he doesn't have a realtor already. But that just goes to show you never know. And we had a great conversation, and because of my background in the wine business, we really hit it off. He has a small wine brand that he actually needs help with, that I offered to give him some advice, because I had many years of experience in wine distribution. So that's definitely something I can help him with. And so we have plans to have lunch next week. I'm going to bring him some listings to start taking a look at, and his wife may be there. His wife got on the phone with me. She was very concerned at first. I could hear her in the background. Who is this guy? Where's he from? Why are you talking? Because he's an older gentleman, and his wife obviously wants to make sure he's not being taken advantage of. And so I told her where I worked in the office, and that my background as a former real estate attorney, and all these things brought her comfort level up. I heard her all of a sudden, oh, okay. And she started talking to me. And so it'll be a great conversation. We're going to have lunch next week. I'm very excited. You never know with these things. And no matter what, it's probably going to be a bit of a long haul. But it's a great lead, not only because it's potentially a very high dollar value deal, but it's a potential client with all sorts of connections and the right kind of connections in the Valley. And so it could, there's all sorts of ways that could lead, could help me having him part of my sphere of influence, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. Well, let's talk a little bit about results. So I know, as I said, we're pretty early in on this so far, and the nurture has to work its magic, which I think you found through real experience, right? That it takes a little while, and we're doing a lot of frog kissing in the process so that you don't have to, right? We're going through and sifting through a lot of leads. We've got the ISA team making those calls. So I think so far we've generated just over 280 leads for you so far total, right? But it's great to hear that so far. So just to wrap up, and I appreciate you going through all of this. So just one last question. If there's anybody out there who's kind of maybe in a similar position to you, they're kind of on the fence, there's maybe the first time that they've ever considered doing something like this, or they've had those bad experiences in the past, like, do you have any advice, anything you'd say to them?
I would say if you're prepared to understand that this is a process, like the whole real estate business is a process. It's not a direct, I do this and this happens. It's a process. I think that your business model is a great tool in the tool belt. And it's a tool that over time, I have no doubt is going to be worth it. But I think it's, if I'm talking to a realtor and say, you want to work with Simon and LeadRise, you need to invest the time to do the things that Simon suggests that you do, which is, looking at the leads, listening to the calls, reviewing those, giving feedback, all the little things to help Simon and his people do the best they can, their job the best they can. If you're willing to invest that time, and then know that it's going to take a little time. I can't think of anybody else who's doing it what you do, or a competitor of yours that's doing it this way. Where the level of communication and the detail orientated of what you're doing is really top notch. Yeah.
That's great. Well, thanks again, John. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to see what this brings for your business. And thanks again for the time.
I will keep you posted. You'll be the first to know.
On speed dial. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, John.
You're welcome.